Om Tumeva Mata cha Pita Tumeva Bandhuscha Saka Tumeva Vidya Dravinam Tumeva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Sri Dakshinamurti Sudeshi Kendram Dvaipayanam Sutrakritam Munindram Sri Shankaram Bhashyakritam Yatindram Maddeshi Kanchapi Namami Vidyai Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsarishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyah Sarvopaplavarahita Prajnana Ganaha Pratyagarto Brahmaivahamasmi Om Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraitapanaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gita Mrtaduhe Namaha Sishtaya Paramatma. Pranams everyone. So we get here in chapter 2, we finished Sloka 35. Now we are going to Sloka 36. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha avācyavādānscha bahūn vadishyanti tava ahitāḥ nindantastava samarthyam tato dukkataram nu kim avācyavādānscha bahūn vadishyanti tava ahitāḥ nindantastava samarthyam tato dukkataram nu kim. So Bhagavan, from Sloka 34, he has been talking about akirti. Bhagavan initially had talked about, just before this, before Sloka 34, he had talked about, from a dharma standpoint, Arjuna, you should fight this war. And that this is actually an opportunity for you to go to Swarga. And if you fail to fight this war, then you will go to Naraka, you will get papam as well as akirti. Akirti means infamy. So Bhagavan is now talking from the worldly angle, from an empirical point of view, from a laukika drishti. And so that was from 34 onwards, where Bhagavan said, akirtim chapi bhutani katahishyanti tevyaya sambhavitasya chakirti maranadatirichyate. Even, death would be more, even death is better. Infamy is worse than that, death. That's what he said. Because nobody likes to get a bad name. We don't like to get a bad name. There is a subhashitam, pranam vapi parityajya manam evapi rakshantuhu anityo bhavati pranaha manastu achandratarakam. Pranam vapi parityajya. The life, one can sacrifice life also. Manam evapi rakshantu. People want to protect their fame, name. Because anityo bhavati pranaha. Pranaha, the life is anyway anityam. It can go any time. But manastu achandratarakam. It is manam, your name and fame will last until the sun and the stars, or moon and the stars, chandratara. So generally people think manam, the honor of the family, the honor of the individual is more important. And Arjuna is no ordinary individual. He is a kṣatriyā. So Bhagavan is actually talking from that angle, Arjuna akirtim. And then in Sloka 35 he said, Bhayad ranad uparatam matsyante tvam maharataha. People, these great warriors will think that you have actually withdrawn from the war out of bhaya, fear. And yesham cha tvam bahumatao bhutva yasyasi lagabam. People, all this, you will come to such a disgrace. So Bhagavan is continuing that same subject. So here in this Sloka 36, avācyavādān bahūn vadishyanti tavāhitāḥ. Tavāhitāḥ. Tava means your. Ahitāḥ. Ahitāḥ means enemies. Your enemies, which means the Kauravas, vadishyanti. Vadishyanti means they will utter. What will they utter? Avācyavādān bahūn. Avācyavādān. Avācyavādān means Vadam means words. Avācya means unmentionable. Unmentionable words. So your enemies will utter unmentionable words. Unmouthable words. They will utter against you. And it's not just one or two words they will utter. Bahūn. Bahūn means many. They will mention so many unmentionable words. And they have the advantage also, because once you withdraw from the war, they take the kingdom, they become the rulers of the state, they have the right to write the history, and all the so-called fourth estate, all the newspaper, television, radio of those times, whatever, will all be in their hands, and therefore they can spread the rumor they want. And while doing this, what else they will do? Nindantaḥ samarthyam. Nindantaḥ. Nindane, we've heard it. Nindane means ridiculing. Nindantaḥ tava samarthyam. Tava means your samarthyam. Samarthyam poradu we say. Samarthyam means ability. Nindantava samarthyam. They ridiculing your ability, or criticizing or belittling your proficiency, or criticizing your skill in archery. What they will do? Tato dukkha taram nukim. Tata dukkha taram kim. What is more painful than this? What is more sad than this? What is... So such an apamānam you will get. Tataha dukkha taram kim. Generally, a lot of people can be shameless, but some people, they are sensitive. They cannot take apamānam. And for kṣatriyā especially, their name, as I told in the last class itself, they are very, very concerned about their name and fame. They will not let their name be spoken in a bad manner, in a wrong manner. They wouldn't want any infamy on their names, against their names. That's why, in Ramayana also they say, when Kaikeyi asked the boon to Dasharatha, Dasharatha initially refused to give the boon to Kaikeyi, because Dasharatha was ready to sacrifice anything, but he did not want to sacrifice Rama. Kaikeyi used all the arguments. She said, you had given me this word, and this is the only time I am asking. I have never asked you anything before. All those things. Dasharatha was not budging. Ultimately, Kaikeyi gives one argument, and that argument is that all your forefathers have kept their words. To Dasharatha, she says, all your forefathers, all your ancestors have kept their words. They are all known for their avācya paripālanam. Whatever words they give, they will actually make sure that they keep their words. And the entire Raghuvamsha is known for avācya paripālanam. They have maintained such a blotless glory. Now, if you withdraw your words, if you take back your own words, if you take back your promise, you will be the first person to bring a blot in your entire family. Do you want to sacrifice the name that you enjoy, Or do you want to go down to the history as the, or in other words, do you want to go down to the history as one of the first who has brought the blot in this famous Raghuvamsha? So this word apamāna, the moment that apamāna word was given, Dasharatha relents and he agrees to Kaikeyi. So the kings, the kṣatriyās do not like the word apamāna. Similarly in Kamsa also, in the case of Kamsa, he decides to kill Devaki. Because when an aśarīri comes and tells that Devaki's 8th son will be the killer, Vasudeva uses all the arguments to dissuade Kamsa from killing Devaki. All the arguments fail. Ultimately he says, do you want to be remembered as would it not create infamy on your name? I mean, would you want to be remembered as a person who has killed his own sister? Your family has got such a wonderful name and fame. Will you want to go down the history as the killer of your own sister? And that too out of a fear of a son who is yet to be born. Do you want such an apamāna? Again, once the word apamāna is given, Kamsa puts the sword aside and then says, okay, let Devaki live. And in our history also you would see that another king, the war starts because of merely insulting another king. Nobody likes to be insulted, especially in a kṣatriyā. That much powerful their ego is. And Bhagavan is using that weakness of kṣatriyā. And he says, Tataha dukkha taram nukim. What is more painful than an apamānam? And therefore he says, Bhagavan says, avācyavādān shabahūn padishyanti tava ahitāḥ nindantaḥ tava samartyam tato dukkha taram nukim. So, moreover, Arjuna, ridiculing your ability, your enemies will utter unmentionable words. And that too not one, many. And what can be more painful than this? So Bhagavan is saying that in this sloka. Now sloka 37. Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchaya. Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchaya. So Bhagavan is kind of concluding this section here. From sloka 34 onwards, he has been speaking about akirti, basically the laukika angle. And here Bhagavan says, there could be two possibilities for you, Arjuna. One, you could die, or you could be victorious. And Bhagavan says, either way, Arjuna, you stand to gain. Whether you get killed or whether you live at the end of this war. Either way, you stand to gain. How? Hato va prapsyasi swargam. Hataha va. Hataha means killed. Va. If you are killed, prapsyasi swargam, you will enjoy the heaven. If you are killed, Arjuna, you will go to heaven because you have fought a dharma yuddha. And you will get heaven and you will enjoy what is being offered in the heaven. Jitva va bhokshase mahim. Va, or if, that is, if you are not killed. Because the war is anyway, the war will continue until the last remaining soldier or the last remaining army. So, because war is until death. Jitva means victorious. If you emerge victorious, bhokshyase mahim. Bhokshyase means you will enjoy. Mahim, you will enjoy a lot. What are those? You will get back the kingdom. You have been craving for this kingdom for the last 13 years. And why you will be enjoying? Because you have been suffering for the last 13 years. You have lived in forests. You have not had a comfort of the house or a palace. You have been suffering along with the mosquitoes and the insects and the living things. No proper water, no proper food, no privacy. You have not had a ordinary life. Even for ordinary people, they had proper things. But you, in spite of being a prince, you are having a very difficult life. And for 13 miserable years, now you are going to get back your kingdom. And of course, once you get back the kingdom, you will get all the riches along with it, the palace, the comfort and all those things. So either way, Arjuna, you are going to gain if you fight this war. If you win, jitvava bhokshasya mahim, you will get the kingdom. Atova prapsyasi swargam. Atvava prapsyasi swargam. If you get killed, you will go to Swargaloka. So in the next line, Tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya kritanishchaya. Tasmad, therefore Arjuna, knowing this, uttishta kaunteya, get up. Uttishta, get up. O Kaunteya, O Arjuna, get up. Why get up? Arjuna is still sitting. After the end of the first chapter, where he had dropped the Gandivam, he had actually sat down. He did not want to fight. So this is the last verse of the first chapter. If you see, you would see that Arjuna had sat down. He was seated, he was afflicted with sorrow. So here Bhagavan says, get up. And why does he need to get up? Yuddhaya, to fight. And how to fight? Krita nishchaya. Having resolved to fight, get up. So which means there should not be any second thought. And here, as I said, yuddhaya krita nishchaya. So wherever Bhagavan says tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya, or wherever Bhagavan says yuddham kuru, do fight the war, we have to take it as swadharmam kuru. Bhagavan says basically, get up, resolve your mind that you will do your duty and fight. And this is what we should also do. We have got all duties. Whenever we see our duty, we see the duty whether it follows in one of the two categories. One is whether the duty is a pleasant duty, the other is unpleasant duty. Pleasant duty is those duties that we love to perform, we don't have any problem in doing that duty. Unpleasant duties are those duties that we do not want to do, but we do it either out of compulsion or we look for ways to avoid them. So it is pleasant or unpleasant. Bhagavan says, fight, do your duty. How should one perform an unpleasant duty? In what attitude? With what attitude? Bhagavan is going to say it in Sloka number 38. That's next to Sloka. So before we go to the next Sloka, we'll just do a quick summary of this chapter from Sloka 1 to 37. Sloka 1, Arjuna was suffering from the problem of samsara. What was his problem of samsara? Basically attachment. From attachment came dukkham. From dukkham came moham, delusion. And because of which he was not able to decide whether he had to fight the war or not. And that delusion that he had extended to even dharma matters. Because of the intense sorrow that he had, he started looking whatever as dharma as adharma and whatever as adharma as dharma. Then Arjuna realized that he was actually helpless. He couldn't make up his mind. and he did the Sharanagati to Bhagavan, accepting his helplessness. Having did the Sharanagati, Bhagavan's responsibility was to rescue Arjuna. And now Bhagavan had twofold job. One was to remove the problem of sorrow. He has to remove the problem of Shoka from Arjuna. Then only after removing that he would be able to convince Arjuna that this Yuddha, Mahabharata Yuddha, is actually a Dharma Yuddha, and therefore he has to fight it. It does not come under violence. It is only a proper war that is to be fought for the sake of Dharma. So for that, Bhagavan actually begins to convince Arjuna by giving arguments, and he gives it at 3 different levels. The first level of argument was at the level of what we call as adhyatmika drishti. Adhyatmika drishti means from a philosophical angle, from the Atma Anatma standpoint. There Bhagavan said, he talked about the true nature of an individual, where he talked about Atma Lakshanas, and said how this true nature of self is free from all the action. It's an akarta, it's an abhokta. And because it is akarta, abhokta, there is no question of any proper action or improper action from the standpoint of true nature. So where is the question of propriety or impropriety? This is from a philosophical angle, and that neither Bhishma nor Drona's Atma would be killed. So Arjuna need not get afflicted with sorrow from that standpoint. Then Bhagavan said, even if you are not able to appreciate that stand, Bhagavan came down and said, even from the standpoint of ethics, from a dharmika drishti, from an ethical angle, from a moral angle, Arjuna, it is your duty to fight. This is dharma yuddha. If you don't fight, you will get papa. Now, after convincing with that angle, then Bhagavan comes down further and he says, even if you are not able to appreciate from the ethical standpoint, even if you do not believe in punya papa, just from worldly angle, even from a laukika drishti, from a social angle also, Arjuna, remember, if you will lose your name and fame. If you withdraw from this war now, you will lose your name and fame. And therefore, Arjuna, from philosophical angle, from ethical angle, or from worldly angle, whatever be the standpoint, you have to fight this war. So this is the summary of the slokas between 1 and 37 of this chapter. Of course, 12 to 24 are very important slokas where we talk about Atma Lakshana. Even if we don't understand, we can revisit this again and again afterwards. Now, Bhagavan is going to conclude this facet of discussion, this discussion from the empirical view. And he is going to end the Sloka 38, in the Sloka 38, where he will talk about the attitude that one must have while performing a duty or duties. So this is not just for Arjuna, it is for all of us. What is the attitude that one must have when performing a duty? So we will go to Sloka number 38. So it's an important Sloka. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayau tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avācyasi. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayau tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avācyasi. So here is concluding a set of teaching here. This is kind of a transition sloka. Next sloka is actually more really the transition sloka. Here he is actually concluding in terms of how to perform duty. This is also the, we can say, a beginning of the next section. So until now, if you look at it, Bhagavan had talked about Jnana Yoga, especially 11 to 24, 12 to 24, it talks about Jnana, the knowledge of the self. Now from the next slokas, next few slokas, Bhagavan is going to talk about Karma Yoga, which is another important topic of Bhagavad Gita. In fact, the topic that is more relevant for us from our day-to-day standpoint. Jnana Yoga or the Sankhya Yoga, you remember this chapter is called a Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga, Bhagavan discussed about the philosophy, the philosophical aspect of life. Now Bhagavan is going to enter into religion. Remember, the entire Bhagavad Gita is only from Vedas, and Vedas have two parts to it. Rather, the Vedas can be classified into two parts. Not that it has got physical division, but we can say the Veda Purva Bhaga and Veda Anta Bhaga. The Veda Purva Bhaga contains about religion. The Veda Anta Bhaga talks about philosophy. The same Vedas talk about religion as well as philosophy. Bhagavad Gita also talks about religion as well as philosophy. We will not be able to differentiate between secular and sacred. Everything is secular only. Everything is sacred only. Religion for us is a way of life. In fact, religion is the right way of life. Philosophy is the right view of life. And now the philosophy part is over. The religion part is coming. Jnana Kandam is over. Karma Kandam is coming. Brahma Shastram is over. Brahma Shastram means the Shastram about Brahman or Atma is over. Dharma Shastra is going to come. The knowledge about Dharma and Adharma is going to come out now. So this is kind of the seed sloka, we can say, for Karma Yoga. Here Bhagavan explains how one must perform duties, one's duties. What sort of attitude should one have while performing duties? Karma Yoga talks about the right action and the right attitude. And here Bhagavan talks about, or rather he is giving a small introduction about the attitude that one must have while performing duties. I said, Jnana Yoga is also referred to Sankhya Yoga. Karma Yoga is also referred to Buddhi Yoga. So Karma Yoga is also called Buddhi Yoga. Bhagavan is going to explain Karma Yoga in the coming slokas. Here some slokas, and then the third chapter is more in detail. Now he is getting us prepared for Karma Yoga, and therefore he is giving the seed sloka here. Now we will go into the sloka. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayau. Sukha dukkhe, sukha dukkam, we know happiness and sorrow. Sukha dukkhe. Labha alabhau. Labha, we know gain. Alabha, loss. And then jaya ajayau. Jaya jayau means victory and defeat. So sukha dukkhe, labha labhau, jaya jayau. Happiness and sorrow, gain and loss, victory and defeat. All pairs of opposites. What does Bhagavan say for these things? He says kritva. Same kritva. Kritva. Kritva means treat them. or regarding them, how you have to treat them? Same. Same means alike, in the same manner. What you have to treat? Happiness and sorrow, loss and gain, victory and defeat, you treat them alike. You treat them in the same manner. And then next line he says, Tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papama vapsyasi. Tataha yujyasva. Yujyasva means prepare. Yujyasva means prepare. Tataha means therefore, get ready. Tataha. For what? Yuddhaya. Tato yuddhaya yujyasva. Yuddhaya means for war. And you treat them alike. Therefore, Arjuna, prepare yourself for this war. And what will I get? Arjuna asks, if he says, what will I get by doing that? If I treat them alike and get ready for the war. Bhagavan says, Naivam papam avācyasi. Na avācyasi. You will not incur. Evam. In this manner, if you do evam, you will not incur. Na avācyasi papam. You will not incur sin. So Bhagavan says, if you treating happiness and sorrow, gain and loss, victory and defeat alike in the same manner, you prepare for war, Arjuna. In this manner, you will not incur sin. So Bhagavan says, remember these three pairs of opposites: Sukha Dukkha, Labha Labho, Jaya Jayo. If we do the reverse, Jaya. So Jaya Jayo, Labha Labho, Sukha Dukkha. Jaya means victory. Ajaya means defeat. So when victory happens, what do? Whenever we win, what we see? We see we have gained something. So from Jaya comes Labha. So we have gained something. And when we gain something, what we do? We feel happy. And from there comes Sukham. So if the reverse works, from Jaya we get Labha, from Labha we get Sukham. In the same manner, if we do the other side, from defeat we get loss, and from a loss we get Dukkham, sadness. Ajaya, Alabha, Dukkham. So from victory we gain happiness, from defeat we gain or we get into loss, from there we get sadness. And Bhagavan says, Same Kritva. The attitude that we should have on these things is Same Kritva. Same Kritva means what? Treating them alike. Shankaracharya says here, what is the Same Kritva means? Raga Dveshau Akritva. Raga Dveshau Akritva. Treating them alike means not having any Raga Dvesha. What is Raga Dvesha? Strong likes and dislikes. Raga means what? Attachment. Attachment, hatred we can say. Bhagavan says, do not have any attachment or hatred on these things. What these things? These six things. The three pairs of opposites. Sukha Dukkham, Labha Alabhav, Jaya Jayo. One should not say, I don't have any attachment on Dukkham. Bhagavan is not saying that, Shankaracharya is not saying that. But one should not have raga on Sukham. One should not have any attachment, raga on Labha. One should not have any attachment on Jaya, victory. And similarly, one should not have any Dvesham on Dukkham. One should not have any Dvesham on Alabha, loss. Or one should not have any Dvesha on Ajaya, defeat. So do not have any attachment or hatred. In other words, same kritva means one should indulge in duties without any attachment or aversion. Whatever be the outcome, learn to face them equally. Have an equanimous mind. One should not have a strong liking or attachment for victory. One should not have a strong attachment for gain. One should not have a strong attachment for happiness. One should not have an aversion for dukkam. Normally we are always averse to dukkam. We want to avoid dukkam. We want to run away from dukkam. One should not have any aversion for loss. One should not have any aversion for sadness, defeat. Now this is getting deep, right? Because we may have many questions. And say, how can we not have a liking for victory? And if I don't have a liking for victory, how will I be able to give my best? Or how can I do business without a liking for gain? I set up a business. My idea is to gain profit. How can I actually work without having a liking for profit? And happiness. Isn't it everybody wants happiness? Isn't something that everybody likes it? How can I not have liking or an attachment towards happiness? Now this is very deep. We'll have to answer this. There will be answers soon in the coming slokas. We will see the answers. Because not just in this chapter, as I said, in the next chapter we'll be going even more deeper. Bhagavan is going to do a lot more, and we will do a lot more vichara on this. But for the moment, this is like a sutra. This is like a condensed capsule to say forget whether it is possible for me or not. It is possible for some people, definitely. Do not look into how can one do it, another reasons. But if you have to take this as a law, then what is it? Have the same, or treat both victory and loss. Treat both sukham as well as dukkham alike. This is the essence of Karma Yoga. We will be discussing more on Karma Yoga, but this is the fundamental sloka of Karma Yoga. Treating happiness and sorrow, gain and loss, victory and defeat in the same manner. In this manner, Bhagavan promises one thing. In this manner, if you do, he is telling us, we will not incur papam. We will not incur sin. This is very important. Why should I do that? Why should I do it? People might ask, why should I do that? Because if you do that, you will not incur any sin. How? We will come to that later. But this is the law. So this is an important sloka, as I said. Now we will go to sloka number 39. Esha te bihita sankhye buddhiryoge tvimam shruno buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Esha te bihita sankhye buddhiryoge tvimam shruno buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. So Bhagavan is concluding all the topic that he was discussing so far, and he gives an introduction to Karma Yoga. Again, this is a transit verse. Bhagavan is changing from one topic to another. Remember, already in the last sloka, Bhagavan has introduced Karma Yoga. 11 to 25, Jnana Yoga. 38, introduction of Karma Yoga. Now Bhagavan introduces Karma Yoga, and he says, Bhagavan is saying, I am shifting topics, Arjuna, remember that. And Bhagavan wants Arjuna to know that he is actually and he has to know that the topics are different, and he wants to differentiate the topics. Bhagavan says, until now I had talked about Atma Jnana, From now on, I am going to talk about Karma Yoga. And what is the significance of this? What is the tatparyam of this? See, Arjuna is in samsara. Why Arjuna? All of us are in samsara. And whoever knows they are in samsara, if anybody knows that they are in samsara, which means if somebody knows what is samsara, only will know whether they are in samsara. And only if they know what is samsara actually, what are the faults of samsara, what are the doshas of samsara, if they know it properly, those people would want to come out of samsara. Now Arjuna is able to recognize samsara. And he has gone into sorrow. He has experienced sorrow. The mind has gone through changes. And therefore he has finally did his sharanagati, surrender to Bhagavan. And he had pleaded. He pleads to Bhagavan to give him a way out of getting out of this samsara. And Bhagavan gave the first and direct way to remove samsara. The first and direct way. Immediate, if you want immediate action, output to it, or the immediate outcome to remove samsara from its root, it is Atma-jnana. A person with Atma-jnana will never be in samsara. And that is how Shastras have to be taught. The main theme should be said in the beginning, then the theme should be explained in the middle, then finally in the conclusion you will have to conclude with that same theme. It's called as Upakrama and Upasamhara. This is all how our Shastras have been written. This is all we also do in our PowerPoint presentations also. We give an executive summary, then we give the detail, and then we conclude. In the same way. So here the central theme is about Atma-jnana. What is the Atma-jnana? The discovery of the fact that I am an independent one. I am an independent entity. There is a discovery of self-dependence. There is independence, but self-dependence, or there is freedom from all kinds of external dependence for me to be happy. That self-discovery is called Atma-jnana. Bhagavan calls it as Sankhya. That's why this chapter is also called as Sankhya Yoga. Now, Bhagavan gives this Atma-jnana, no doubt. And Atma-jnana is the first and direct, or rather the direct means to remove sorrow. But for Atma-jnana to work, one should have the qualifications to be able to get that. Not everyone can receive Atma-jnana and be happy. The Guru says, Tattvam Asi. If I am able to say, Aham Brahmasmi, then it means I am able to get that knowledge. Which means I have actually understood, assimilated, and is able to actually follow this in the day-to-day activities. Follow this knowledge or implement this knowledge in day-to-day activities. Then I can say Aham Brahmasmi. But for me to do that, I should have the qualifications. Otherwise, not everybody can get this Atma-jnana and be ever happy. That's not possible because qualifications are necessary. It's like this. A person goes to a doctor and then says, he's got stomachache. The doctor checks everything and then he says, look, you have to get operated. Operation is the means or the direct means to get your, relief from this disease. Direct path to free yourself from the disease is operation. So if that is the case, will immediately the doctor takes him to the operation theatre, does it, operates him and gets it out? No. What happens? Before the operation, the patient would be put under observation, be checked for sugar, BP, all sorts of possible issues, whether he's got any issues as in some medical things where you will have some problems with certain kinds of medicines. whether he is qualified for the operation. For example, if a person is actually coughing loudly, right, the eye operation may not happen properly. They will not go into eye operation, because if a person coughs during the operation, it will be a problem. So all these body checks are done. So the direct means of release from the disease or getting away from the disease is operation. But for the operation to succeed, the patient has to be brought to that level where he can take that operation. The operation itself can only take 3 hours, but the preparation could take even a week. In the same way, to get relief from samsara, one needs to get atma jnana. That is direct shot. But there should be preparation. And the preparation is getting ourselves qualified to receive this jnana. And that preparation is called as karma yoga. The karma yoga is the sadhana by which we make ourselves prepared to receive this atma jnana, which will qualify us to get this atma jnana. So, important thing to note, whether karma yoga will really will release us from samsara? No. Karma yoga will not release us from samsara. Atma jnana is the direct means to remove samsara. But when will it work? Only when I am qualified. Only when I have sadhana chatushtayam. What is sadhana chatushtayam? Vivekam, vairagyam, shatka sampatti, mumukshutvam. Only if you have these qualifications, this atma jnana will work. And so what will karma yoga do? Karma yoga is a sadhana that gives me these qualifications. So Shankaracharya says, Bhagavan here is doing Shastra Vibhagam. Bhagavan is separating 2 subjects. And Bhagavan himself is saying, I have been talking about one theme. So far, Arjuna, here I am going to talk about another. He wants this clear distinction. And though it is the knowledge that will lead us to liberation, but for that knowledge to be understood and assimilated, we will need to be qualified. What is the most important qualification of all this 6 plus 3, 9 qualifications that we need? Viveka, Vairagya, Sama, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam, Mumukshutvam. Of these, which is the most important? If somebody asks, the most important qualification is Vairagya. Vairagya is the most important qualification, most difficult qualification. Viveka is easy. Viveka is to discriminate that what is real, what is unreal. If we keep listening to Vedanta again and again and again and again, we will get Viveka. We will apply, okay, yeah, I can see that this world is fleeting. People, relations, fleeting. Body changes, fleeting. My mind changes, fleeting. Everything is fleeting. Viveka is over and over a period of listening to Vedanta, we'll get it. And Viveka is like that raw fruit. The raw fruit will not give the sweetness. Only when the Viveka ripens to Vairagya, the sweetness will flow. Once we get Vairagya, that mental state, then we will see, just with Vairagya itself, our life will become much more happier, much more easier. And how do we get Vairagya? Vairagya we will get by living the life of, or following Karma Yoga, being a Karma Yogi. So the step 1 of spiritual life is Karma Yoga. Step 0 is living a life of Dharma. Step 1 is Karma Yoga. But then we'll ask, why did Bhagavan start with the highest principle? Why should he not give it to Arjuna, saying, Arjuna, you do Dharma, then you do Karma Yoga, then I will give you jnana. Only then anyway you will get jnanam, and then you will get this, you will be able to get out of this samsara. Why did Bhagavan not do that? Because Bhagavan wanted us to show the final goal. He said, this is where you have to reach. First we have to say, whenever before leaving a house, do we just like that leave? We will first like to know, or we will first make up our mind where we want to go. So, from here, I need to go to that place. Only then I will leave the house. So first I will make up my destination. Then I will decide the route map based on that. Similarly, Bhagavan says, this is the final destination, Arjuna, and now I am going to give you the route map. And the route map is, step 1 is Karma Yoga. Where should you start, Arjuna? Karma Yoga. And after doing Karma Yoga as sadhana, one has to come for Atma Jnana. And the step to assimilate, understand, reflect and assimilate Atma Jnana is called as Jnana Yoga. Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. So the first step is Karma Yoga, the next step is Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga leads to Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga leads us to Moksha. Moksha is a state of no samsara. I cannot go to Jnana Yoga without Karma Yoga. Jnana Yoga is impossible without Karma Yoga, because without Karma Yoga I would not have had the qualification, and therefore Jnana Yoga will be just words to me. And Karma Yoga by itself only, if I do, it is incomplete. I will not be getting out of samsara. So Karma Yoga is incomplete without Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is impossible without Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga is very important. As I said, it will help us in day-to-day activities. We will see about Karma Yoga in this chapter as well as in the next chapter. Karma Yoga, we saw in the previous sloka, it is an attitude that we should have. In the last sloka, Bhagavan talked about the attitude that one must have when performing the duties. Same kritva. So that he started it. And there is also this misconception in today's world that, in this Kali Yuga, people say Jnana Yoga is very difficult to understand all these things, and it is, and in scriptures also it is given that Jnana Yoga is very difficult, especially in Kali Yuga. That's why you don't see many people coming for Vedanta classes. It is true. Jnana Yoga is difficult. So people say, if Jnana Yoga is difficult, why don't you try other yogas to get moksha? Bhagavan says, you can try other yoga, but you will not be able to get moksha. Jnana Yoga is the only method to get moksha. And if Jnana Yoga is difficult, what should we do? We'll have to make Jnana Yoga easy. How do we make Jnana Yoga easy? By making ourselves qualified. And how do we make Jnana Yoga easy? By preparing ourselves. By preparing the mind. And how do we prepare the mind? By Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga is a very important step. Now we'll go to the sloka. Yesha te bihita Sankhya. I told you Sankhya Yoga is also Jnana Yoga, is the same. Yesha te bihita Sankhya buddhihi. Yesha buddhihi. Yesha buddhihi means this knowledge. This knowledge, Yesha buddhihi. Abhihita te. Abhihita te means it is imparted to you. this knowledge has been imparted to you till now. Whatever has been imparted to now, Sankhya. It deals with Sankhya. So Bhagavan says, this knowledge, whatever has been imparted to you so far, Arjuna, deals with Sankhya. Sankhya means equal to Atma. Sankhya means Upanishad samyak kyayate iti Sankhya. Atmatvam yasyam sa Sankhya. Sankhya means actually the truth which is revealed in the Upanishads. And what is the truth that is revealed in the Upanishads? The truth of the self, Atma. So Sankhya means Atma. And Buddhihi here means knowledge. Buddhihi. Esha te bihita Sankhya Buddhihi. So this knowledge imparted to you till now deals with Sankhya. Here afterwards I am going to give another knowledge. That's what Bhagavan is going to say. He says, Tu shrunu imam, tvimam shrunu, tu shrunu imam. Now listen to this. Imam means this. Now listen to this. Shrunu means here or listen. Now listen to this. What? Buddhya yukto yaya partha. And Bhagavan, remember, he says shrunu. Shrunu means, Bhagavan says, shrunu means listen. So why does Bhagavan says listen to Arjuna? He says, Arjuna, listen attentively. This is important what I am going to say. So listen. Listen to me intently. Listen to me carefully. What Bhagavan is going to say in the next line about what he is going to teach further, Bhagavan is going to say, that we will see in the next class. Any questions or comments? Okay. So if not, then we will see again in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Yes, Lata Ganesh ji, you had put your hand up.